What if I told you that the familiar image of Jesus, white-skinned, blue-eyed, and brown-haired, is far from the historical reality? What if I told you this widely recognized depiction is not only inaccurate, but has also distorted our understanding of the man who changed the course of history? Today, let's uncover the truth about Jesus' appearance by diving into biblical references, historical context, archaeological findings, and scholarly research. This journey will also reveal how the image of a white Jesus came to dominate across cultures. Stay with me, this is a story you won't want to miss. Let's start by exploring how the white Jesus became ubiquitous in churches, homes, and media. This portrayal didn't happen by chance. It evolved over centuries, shaped by cultural, political, and theological forces. In early Christianity, believers and artists sought to depict Jesus in ways that resonated with their surroundings. By the Renaissance, artists like Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci were creating images of Christ that mirrored European ideals. Michelangelo's In the Sistine Chapel presents a muscular, pale-skinned Jesus, while da Vinci's features a gentle, light-skinned figure. These depictions reflected the aesthetics and values of Renaissance Europe, where pale skin symbolized beauty and divinity. As European powers expanded through colonization, they spread not only their religion but also their image of Jesus. Missionaries carried the gospel and the white-skinned Christ across Africa, the Americas, and Asia. Colonized peoples were introduced to Christianity through a European lens, and the image of a white savior became ingrained in their consciousness. This had profound implications. The white Jesus became a tool for reinforcing European superiority and non-European inferiority. In colonized societies, this image validated oppressive systems, with colonizers presenting themselves as closer to God, even using this depiction to justify slavery. But what does the Bible say about Jesus' appearance? Surprisingly, it says very little. None of the Gospels provide a detailed description of Jesus' physical traits. One often cited passage is from Revelation, describing the risen Christ. His head and hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace. Some interpret the fine brass reference as an indication of dark or brown skin. Another passage, Isaiah 53:2, suggests Jesus was not physically remarkable. He had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him. This hints at a man who looked ordinary for his time and place. To understand Jesus' appearance, we must examine his geographic and ethnic context. Born in Bethlehem and raised in Nazareth, Jesus lived in a region now known as Israel and Palestine, a crossroads of Africa, Asia, and Europe. The first-century population of this area was diverse, but most people likely had olive-toned or brown skin, similar to modern Middle Eastern populations. As a Jew, Jesus belonged to the Semitic people, who historically had darker skin tones. Additionally, Roman-occupied Palestine was a melting pot of ethnicities, further reinforcing the likelihood that Jesus' appearance aligned with the darker-skinned populations of his time. One compelling clue comes from the Holy Family's flight to Egypt, as recounted in Matthew, February 13, 15. Egypt, part of Africa, was a refuge for Mary, Joseph, and Jesus. If they could blend into the local population, it suggests their appearance was not drastically different from darker-skinned Egyptians. Africa features prominently throughout the Bible, from the Garden of Eden's connection to Ethiopia to the Exodus story in Egypt. Figures like Simon of Cyrene, who carried Jesus' cross, and the Ethiopian eunuch, one of the first non-Jewish converts, underscore the deep ties between Africa and early Christianity. Historical and archaeological research also sheds light on Jesus' likely appearance. Scholars like Dr. Reza Aslan argue that Jesus would have resembled a typical first-century Jewish man: dark olive skin, black hair, and Middle Eastern features. In 2001, forensic anthropologists used skeletal remains and historical data to create a reconstruction of what such a man might have looked like. The result? A broad-faced, dark-skinned figure with short, curly hair, nothing like the European images we're accustomed to. Some scholars even suggest that Jesus could have had African ancestry or cultural ties, given the interconnectedness of Africa and the Near East. Trade routes and migrations facilitated exchanges between these regions, making it plausible that Jesus' lineage included African roots. Early African Christian communities, such as those in Ethiopia and Nubia, depicted Jesus with darker skin in their art. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church, one of the oldest Christian traditions, has consistently portrayed a dark-skinned Jesus, reflecting the cultural and ethnic context of African Christians. This diversity in early Christian imagery contrasts sharply with the whitewashed depictions that later dominated. The shift was not merely artistic, it carried theological and political implications. In enslaved African communities, the image of a suffering Christ resonated deeply. Jesus, who endured oppression and injustice, became a symbol of hope and resistance. Over time, the idea of a black Jesus gained prominence, particularly in African and African American traditions, where it became a powerful assertion of identity and dignity. The 20th and 21st centuries have seen a resurgence of diverse representations of Jesus. Black liberation theology, spearheaded by thinkers like James Cone, emphasizes Jesus' solidarity with the oppressed. Cone argued that a white Jesus is incompatible with a gospel of justice and liberation. For many, a black Jesus symbolizes divine identification with marginalized communities, offering not just spiritual salvation but also empowerment in the face of systemic oppression. In reclaiming these diverse depictions, we move closer to understanding the true identity of Jesus, a man who transcended race and culture to offer a universal message of love and redemption. Recognizing this diversity enriches our faith, reminding us that Jesus belongs to all people, not just one culture or ethnicity. By exploring the historical and cultural realities of his life, we honor the profound humanity of the man at the heart of Christianity.